Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. Saturday morning, I think it's still Saturday morning. I just kind of got up late, had a late night. Thought I'd pop in and do a Q&A. So if any of you guys have any questions, I'll be on here for about 30 minutes today. Drinking my coffee. I got two loaded up. In case I run out, I had a backup so I didn't have to get up. How's it going, Omar? Had a late night last night, played out at a show, got home and drank a couple of beers, a couple, 2, 3, 4, and then got to bed at midnight. So I'm going to do a Q&A, clean up my apartment, and then I'm going to go off and do some hiking. So what's going on, guys? I'll take your questions for the next half an hour. How did your show go? It went awful, to be honest with you. I played out last night. And the PA system, the sound system was so awful. There was a drum set on stage, and all you could hear was a snare drum rattle, and I couldn't hear myself sing, so that's not a good idea. So, all right, guys, I'll be running the Q&A for the next 30 minutes, so if you have any questions, pop them up. If I happen to miss your questions, just send them again. Sergio said, how long before we start seeing results when lifting? You should start seeing results, quality results, in 2 to 3 months out of the gate. What you want to do is make sure you take measurements of your arms and legs and chest and shoulders, and just take them every month. And if you're doing it right, you should start to see results right out of the gate. Let's see. David says, having issues with my squat. My left hamstring is pulling. Wow, that can be a tough one. Are you getting cramps, David? Or, I mean, shoot, if you're getting cramps, there could be any number of issues causing that. If you're pulling a muscle, that could be form. That could be, sometimes when I squat, my butt tends to sink a little bit going one way. So you might want to film your squat from the back to make sure that your butt is driving straight down. One tip I'll give you to try is when you're squatting, concentrate on pushing your butthole straight down while you're sinking and see if that helps at all. All right, let's see here. I'm trying to, good morning, India. Let's see, Gladiator says, my testosterone is level very low, and you're 31 years old. I guess I would ask you, Gladiator, what is your current weight? What is your current sleeping habits? What is your current diet? So let's start with that. And you got to fix those. Let me just get this camera here. Morning, Tucson. Is a pre-workout a false sense of strength with all the energy? A pre-workout for me, and I got a couple here that from the guys from Chaos and Pain, Cannibal Riot and Cannibal Ferox. Get these at tigerfitness.com. These are some good products. But a pre-workout for me, well, here's the thing. It will let me feel like I can keep going into the gym. And it will just give me an energy boost. It will help with focus. So I love pre-workouts, even though I only do a half scoop. Aliyah Tudor, what's going on, girl, in Fort Wayne? I'm going to be helping Aliyah with her squat and deadlift, I hope. So hope to see you soon. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going back here to Andre. Steve, how would someone who wants to bench 2 times a week and is not very strong, how to progress? If you're going to bench 2 times a week, what I recommend is not benching 2 times a week. And let me explain. I like to change the exercises. So if you're going to bench 1 time a week, I would probably do like a heavy bench session where you're doing like a 3x5 a 3x5 or a 5x3 or a 4x3 or a 6x3 or something. And then on your second session, I would probably do dumbbell benches and close grip benches. So I wouldn't overwork the bench press. I would have a bench press heavy day. Get under there, get some heavy reps in, like a 15 reps, 20 reps, a 5x3, 3x5. And then come back the second day and do some assistance work. And make sure you get in some overhead presses. All right, guys, if I miss your question, shoot them up again. Aurelian says, what is your favorite exercise? I don't really have a favorite exercise. There's some I just love to do, and that would be heavy back work. So dumbbell rows. I miss being able to do dumbbell rows with over 200 pounds. Our gym currently only has 150, so I really miss that a lot. All right, guys, if I missed your question, post it up again. Always Hungry says, why is my overhead press always around 67.5 kilograms while my bench is 92.5? My strict overhead is intermediate while my bench is still noob. You're saying your strict overhead is intermediate and your bench is noob. A bench of about 210 pounds is early intermediate. A strict overhead press of, let's see, I'm trying to convert, 160, that's intermediate. So those are pretty good. I mean, I like to have a 3-to-4 ratio. So if I'm benching 400, I want to be overhead pressing 300 strictly. I've done a 315 behind the neck strict seated and front press seated, and my bench was around 400. So you want to have about a 3-to-4 ratio, so you're not actually that far off. Swire says, my back mobility sucks. I can't arch it, retract my scapula. My back mobility sucks too. I'm just like a steel rod. Sometimes we is what we is, and you just have to learn to work with what you have. When it comes to like bench setup, if you can't get a lot of big arch like me, just because you're like a big old plank, just do what you can do. That's it. I can't. You can try putting the football under there and doing all that mobility work. I've never tried it, but I have a feeling if I did, I'd still be a big old plank. So just work with what you got. That's my best advice. C. Alt, thank you, says, I've got workout fuck around itis. Yeah, most people do. That's a good way to not make any results. Let's see. Bay Jiffy says, what are your thoughts, B Jiffy, on making your own big three and not the conventional big three? Making your own big three? Yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want. If you want to do front squats, if you want to do box squats, if you want to do rack deadlifts, if you want to do close grip benches, do whatever you want. As long as if you're using big compound movements, they don't have to be the big three. They can be variations, but they should be at least reasonable variations of them. Like a goblet squat, while it might be good for high volume, is not going to give you the same type of results as a regular squat. So I hope that helped. I see Kyle says, good morning. What is your training frequency when you are doing rest pause? That's a very good question. Rest pause training will make you very, very, very sore. It is a very effective form of training, and in my opinion, it requires a lot of recovery, because when you're pushing out reps on exercises with restricted rest, some of your form might get a little bit on this, just slightly sloppier than normal. So frequency, that's all going to depend on how much volume you do, but I would, if you're doing a strict rest pause style and you're doing more than one exercise per session per body part, like if you're doing 2 or 3 exercises rest pause style for chest, I would rest at least 4 to 5 days before doing it again. If you're only doing 1 rest pause exercise per session, you can do it 2 or even 3 times per week, even if you're a little bit sore. So I hope that helped. Let's see. Savage Chad says, Steve, how would you work around a low back tweak? Would you still do exercises like squats and deadlifts? The lower back is not something to mess around with. I've had minor strains with the lower back over the years. You need to not push yourself. Like if you have a program and you've been doing, say, 315 for reps on squats, you don't go into the gym with a tweaked back and say, I'm going to do the same thing and just see how the back is. You need to give it like 2 or 3 weeks with a little bit lighter weight and just see how things shake out. And you need to allow some time. Just do a little bit lighter weight. Just listen to your body on that given day. Don't go in with a specific agenda, and give what your body will take. Don't over push things, and just let the healing process run its course. Let's see. I have a herniated disc in my lower back. What would be the safest way to work out with a power rack? Wow, herniated disc. I've never dealt with a herniated disc. The safest way, if you're going to do a deadlift variation, is probably just to start with it slightly below the knee and make sure your lower back is tight. That way you're not starting so far leaning over. You have a little bit better leverage position. But I would add that if you have a herniated disc and you're going to try to do deadlifts, and I'm no expert on this by any means, but I would not do a lot of volume. I would not do a lot of heavy weight. I would just kind of take it easy and let the process come to you and see what you can or can't tolerate. So yeah, I've never had a herniated disc, but just be reasonable. Let's see. Altai, thank you. I don't know if that's thank you or Altai. I know you don't work forearms, but what would you recommend to get big wrist, to get them big? Wrist curls or farmer's walks? The first off, you need to do to get big forearms. You need to start with a lot of heavy back work. That's your cornerstone. Beyond that, I've made videos on this channel about the types of forearm training. You would start with static holds with a barbell, no straps. You could do those for time, like 2 to 3 sets a couple times a week. That's your cornerstone because you want to build up the forearm strength. Then you could do things like carries or things that like farmer's walks where you're working your traps as well. You could also do you can do grip work like crush work, and you can also do pinch work. So there's 3 types of work you can do for like forearm and grip strength. But those are some exercises you could do. You could do crush work for your forearms. You could also do pinch, which is for your grip, but will also help with your forearms. And you can do like I like the wrist roller. I look a little bit awkward doing this right now, but the wrist roller to me is a great exercise. I can really feel that forearm action. So I would do wrist roller. When I do like curls like this, I just don't get the same intensity. So I'm not personally a big fan of them. But I would definitely try to do a wrist roller if you could. Let's see here. Alaya, is a weightlifting belt necessary? No, a weightlifting belt isn't necessary. And I got this question yesterday, and I'll try to remember exactly what I told the person. Hold on, let me get... They were giving me some scientific studies about weightlifting belt and activation, all this kind of stuff. And like, it's not about activation. It's not about whether a belt will help you activate more or whatever. When you are squatting or deadlifting or benching or whatever, you want tightness. It's all about tightness. So you need to learn, in my opinion, how to get proper ab tightness, core tightness, and lower back tightness without a belt. Master your lift, or at least master the basics of your lift without a belt. Learn how to have tightness in your core and in your lower back. And then when you add a belt, when, excuse me, losing my voice here, when you start to add a belt, you already have your fundamentals in place, so you can learn to push out against that belt and just assist with tightness. So for me, a belt is more about tightness and not so much about lower back support. So yes, it will. I don't care what the studies say, because here's why. If you are learning to keep tightness in your core and in your back is going to be braced more, it's going to be tighter, and if a belt helps with that, then it's going to help with back health. Period. End of story. So science can't argue with the big hairy ugly dude. All right, if I missed your question, post it up again. Steve, what do you think of the 20-10-10-15 rep system? You can ask me that about any rep system, and I'll tell you reps don't matter. It's how you maximize those sets that matter. And I went into this yesterday in my video. You can do any set and rep scheme, any reasonable. It doesn't matter. Can you do them? What do I think about them? They're all good if you're maximizing them. For more information on that, check out my video yesterday or check out my book link below, Massive Iron. So I hope that helped. Nathaniel says squat shoes for a low arch and pronated feet. Wow, that's outside of my scope of knowledge. I don't know about that. I guess it comes down to there's a lot of variables here. If you have arch issues, like, you know, you have your body type and how you squat, and if you have to squat low bar, high bar, if you have to squat wide stance or narrow stance, and if it feels better flat-footed, if it feels better with support. I don't know specific shoe types. I don't train squat with Olympic shoes. I only train squats with flat-soled shoes. So it's really going to come down to doing some research, and that is just beyond my scope of knowledge, so I apologize for that. Let's see. Manish says, being a wrestler, how can I get maximum strength at a certain weight? I was a wrestler in college. Hey, believe it or not, I was even a professional wrestler in 1999 in the RWA. I was, seriously, for a short period of time. How can you get maximum strength? You get maximum strength. You do the big compound movements, and the cornerstone is big compound movements. Get as strong as humanly possible on them. And one of my other lifting philosophies is get every muscle group from head to toe as strong as humanly possible. If you spend a year doing that, and I did in college, when I came back and played sports like wrestling, like basketball, like baseball, I was phenomenal. My strength in wrestling was phenomenal, and it was a huge advantage. So how do you get strong at wrestling? You get strong in the gym. That's the bottom line. Let's see here. David Meyer says, what is the rule on doing squats 2 to 3 days in a row? First off, why are you doing them 2 to 3 days in a row? I mean, I'm not asking that facetiously, and I'm not telling you not to, but you have to ask yourself, why are you doing them? What's your goal? If you're going to squat frequently, and I squatted frequently for about 3 years, and I got my squat close to 700 during that time with just reps. You have to listen to your body on the daily. If you increase the frequency, you have to lower the volume or the intensity. So when I was doing frequent squatting, I would go in, see what my body wanted to do that day, do maybe a heavy single, maybe a heavy back off set. But you have to really be in tune with your body. I know there's programs out there like Smoloff and all that kind of stuff that force you to do a certain set and rep scheme. I believe that's a good way to get injured. I believe if you're going to frequently squat, you need to go in and take what your body gives on a specific day. Don't do too many reps. And if your body feels like shit or something's aching, don't do a heavy rep just because you have to get it in the books. Listen to your body. That's a big key with frequent squatting. I hope I'm getting everybody's questions. Tyler says, when should you do cleans or snatches on leg day? Power cleans and snatches, I played around with them some over the years. I'm not a big Olympic lifter, but I have definitely played around with them. In my opinion, I like doing them as a form of speed work after deadlifts. So a lot of times back in the day when I would do deadlifts and my deadlifts were done, I would do power cleans or power snatches or clean and snatch variations after that as a form of kind of speed work, because yes, they're still technical, but your central nervous system is already rocking and rolling from deadlifts, and you're going to be working your back and traps a lot. So I like doing them after deadlifts. That's just my personal preference. Let's see. Omar says, is doing all the main lifts twice a week a good idea? If you're going to do compound movements twice a week, at some point, if you get really strong, they're probably going to start beating up your joints. So yes, you can do them twice a week, like squats and bench. I don't recommend doing deadlifts twice a week. If you want to do deadlift variations twice a week, you can, like floor deadlifts one day and then high rack pulls or power shrugs the next, or even Romanian deadlifts the next. But just know that there's going to come a point where you're going to get very strong and you're probably going to start to feel beat up. And if you do that, you need to start cycling how frequently you do these exercises. Let's see. If I missed your questions, post them. You guys are rocking today. You guys must be highly caffeinated. Always Hungry says, Steve, what's your opinion about adding weighted push-ups as assistance exercise? Will it help my press? Strength is strength, or strength always helps strength. The question is it the most effective exercise to help you add strength? Let's see, he said the only pushing movements don't worry about chest soreness. Chest soreness, look, chest soreness, like soreness is not, this is my opinion based on what I understand. Chest soreness has to do with fascia and not with the muscle itself. The fascia, I believe, is 10 times more, has a 10 times greater density as far as oh shit, I forgot what the fuck they call it, but you're 10 times more likely to experience soreness in your fascia. I think it's 5 to 10 times more soreness in your fascia than you are the actual muscle. So people will say, my shoulders never get sore. This muscle gets more sore than the other muscle. That is due to the fascia and not to the muscle. Don't worry about soreness. Now back to the question, are weighted push-ups a good exercise to build up the bench press? Strength builds strength, but the question at the end of the day is it the most effective assistance exercise to build bench press strength? I say no. If you want to build a big bench press, you have to go heavy and hard on the triceps. You have to go heavy and hard on the shoulders. You also need some good bicep strength. I found that when my eccentrics felt really slow or really weak, it was because I was overworking the bicep or not having enough. So I don't think they're the best assistance exercise for bench press, no, but I still do 2 sets of push-ups to failure each day after my heavy bench work is done because I like to be strong at body weight exercises. Let's see. Did you use rest pause training? Kyle asked, did you use rest pause training for losing weight? I did not, but it is an excellent, excellent method to use when losing weight because your heart rate is staying elevated when you're in the gym, and you're going to walk out of the gym, you're going to be burning calories for a while after you're out of the gym. It's just a quality way to keep your heart rate elevated and get in that resistance training and stimulate your muscles without needing to do a lot of volume. So you can get in, hammer it, get your cardio and weights in, get out. Panos says, opinion on advanced German volume training, 5x10 instead of 10x10. That's a great question. Let me get some coffee. German volume training. Okay, so I wrote an article. It is at tigerfitness.com, and it is about research that showed that a 10x5, or 5 sets of 10 on half the volume of normal German volume training did the same thing as full volume. So I don't know. I mean, we haven't thoroughly studied advanced lifters or intermediate lifters. But personally, German volume training is worth trying. I don't see a lot of guys that finish German volume training. One thing I recommend instead of doing a 10x10 is you do 2 5x10s for different exercises. You can alternate exercises, which I really like. You can do a bench press 5x10, alternate it with push-ups or dips 5x10. Is it better? Is it worse? It's going to come down to personal preference, but the research in this article showed that 50 reps was just as effective as 100. So just understand science might be wrong, but that's the research. So it's just something to process. Jimmy P says, could you describe the taste difference between MTS Chocolate Whey and the new triple chocolate cake? That's a great question. The triple chocolate cake is actually based off an exclusive formula that we had over in Australia. So we do sample testing at tigerfitness.com. We give the manufacturers, like the people that do the actual product development, ideas and specifications, and they'll send us back. And it's just a richer, deeper chocolate. So it's, I mean, both are pretty good. They're not too far off. But the triple chocolate cake just has a slightly, I think, more rich chocolate flavor. I don't know if that helps. But either way, if you like chocolate, you can't go wrong. Let's see. Jeff Trent. If I missed your questions, boy, you guys are rocking today. Just post them up. Jeff Trent says, good morning, Joe. I hope. You see my Incredible Hulk? Yeah, that's cute, isn't it? Let's see. Jeff Trent says, as we get older, should we consume 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight? Blah, blah, blah. I don't do... look, you're 280 pounds. Jeff, I'm going to tell you this because you need to know this, that if you're older and you're 280 pounds, the main thing you need to understand is that you're not going to live very long. And I'm not lecturing you. I'm just giving you the reality. So the grams of protein to maintain your mass, you need... It's probably good to have over 200 to 220 grams of protein to maintain that weight. But understand from a longevity standpoint, if you're over age of 50, you're probably not going to make it to 60 at that body weight. And that's not me spouting an opinion. That's just That's just a physiological reality based on statistics. So, yeah, I would get 200 to 220 grams of protein a day at minimum. But you also, I would just say, man to man, you need to lose some weight or else you're not going to make it to 60. So that's just me being honest. Let's see here. Nathaniel says, no problem. Good morning from Korea. Cheers and thank you for your service. I'm ex-U.S. Army here, and I was actually in the Army. I wasn't a fake soldier like some of these YouTube guys. Joel says, do you think that a cheap protein, 6-star whey, is a satisfactory substitute for breakfast? No, I do not. As an industry insider, and I don't care what brand you use. I mean, we control at Tiger Fitness the quality of MTS whey, but I've been with companies that I left a company that I don't even know if I could say this and not legally get myself in trouble, but let me just say, I know there's some companies out there that spike their stuff, that spike it with glutamine and amino acids and cheap fillers and, you know, God knows what. There was a protein that I used for 2 straight years that I found out only had 14 grams instead of 25 per scoop. So I'm not a big fan of cheap when it comes to whey protein supplements. Spend 10 extra dollars, get something good, and just drop your Netflix account or something. That's my advice. Let's see. David Meyer says, while doing compound movements for strength, what do you think about 5 to 6 minutes between sets? Absolutely. When it comes to the big compound movements, I never think about rest in between sets. Because when you are pushing heavy weight, you're doing strength work, you need to be focused, you need to be completely mentally and physically ready to go. How much time it takes you in between sets, it doesn't matter. Like a lot of the old school lifters were in the gym forever because they were doing a lot of compound movements and they were taking their time in between sets. So, yeah, take as much time as you need on compounds. Don't worry about it. But if you start taking 5 to 6 minutes in between sets of like push-ups or crunches or something, you know, you'll end up being in the gym for like 3 hours. And that's no good unless there's a lot of gym hotties in there. So, let's see. Swire says, I'll train in a gym full of hammer strength machines soon. Anything I should use besides the barbell is an intermediate and advanced. I mean, when it comes to hammer strength machines, I like to do a lot of volume and I like to do a lot of rest pause work. I think that's the best bang for your buck because you can limit rest in between sets to like 30 seconds, get in a good volume, and really maximize a machine. That's how I approach it. But as far as other equipment, I mean, if you got some dumbbell work, you can do 20 rep sets if they don't have heavy dumbbells. But really just do what you want. When it comes to machine work, though, I like to do it in volume form just because it's not a compound movement. So I hope that helped. All right, guys, we're almost at the 30-minute mark, but I'm just going to keep rocking as long as you guys have questions. So Fabi says, hey, Steve, I'm 25 years old, 6'1", and weigh 202 pounds with around 14% body fat, which means overweight. Should I be worried? You're 6'1", 200 pounds? No, don't be worried. That's a good weight. Most of the adult men I know are 200 to 240 pounds, and I like being a bigger guy. I mean, I like walking down the street and having people move out of the way, and it's not an ego thing. It's not an arrogant thing. It's just like I don't like to be fucked with, and when you're a bigger guy, you're less likely to be fucked with, and I know that offends some people. I made a video about natural bodybuilding and guys being 150, 160 pounds. But, the reality is when you walk around the street like me, and I'm not a Jason Blah where I think I'm bigger in real life. When people meet me in real life, they go, damn, you're big. And I'm not bodybuilder big. I'm just like professional wrestler big. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I carry around some fat. So I like being a bigger guy. And you know what I found as I get older? A lot of women, not all of them, but a lot of women like guys with a little bit of meat. They like to feel a little bit comforted by guys. So are you overweight at 6'1", 202 pounds? Absolutely not. Just keep focusing on building muscle. All right, guys, I'm going to keep rolling. Nick, why do I always pull my hamstring during sumo? I don't know, Nick. I don't know why you do that. I don't know if you're overweight and have some form of diabetes. I don't know if you have some kind of liver issue, if you're not getting enough minerals, if you're not warming up properly. There's a lot of things you need to look at. I don't know why you keep pulling it, but I would definitely check your diet, make sure you're getting in enough minerals, take an electrolyte supplement. While you're working out, you can get BCAAs with electrolyte. I would start there just with the basics. And if you're overweight, you need to pull back on that because you might have some early signs of type 2 diabetes. Elias says, I have a goal of someday doing pull-ups. What can I do now? Excuse me, to get there. Do you have assisted pull-up machine at the gym? Because what I recommend for people that want to do pull-ups, because they can be a challenging exercise, is it's not something you should just try to do once a week. I would do the assistance pull-up 3 or 4 times a week for 1 to 2 sets and start there and start to just try to improve a little week to week at a rep or 2 each week, and then you're going to notice your strength's improving over the course of 3 to 4 months. So that's a good place to start. And another tip, instead of trying to do a pull-up like this, try to do a neutral grip pull-up because you're going to feel a little bit stronger, so that might help you as well. You can put bands around your feet when you're doing a neutral grip pull-up as an assistance exercise as well, so that's something to consider. Let's see, Flex says, how to increase my bench press? Flex, great question. I want you to Google, when you're off this video, Steve Shaw Tiger Fitness bench press, or just Steve Shaw Tiger Fitness. I have 10 to 15 bench press programs on Tiger Fitness. I have 10 to 15 bench press articles on Tiger Fitness. I have a whole world of information. Check those out. They're very valuable. Kieran says, any advice on weak lats? Weak lats. I found that a lot of deadlift reps help with lats. I get a lot of lat soreness during a lot of deadlift volume. Not heavy deadlifts, but deadlift volume. So I would have deadlift volume. I would also focus on when you're doing pull downs and rows, don't pull with the hand. Focus on driving the elbow and shoulder back at the same time. If you sit here right now and you drive your elbow and shoulder back at the same time, you can feel your lat contracting. You can feel that lat contraction. So when you do your when you do your rows and your pull downs, because you need both a vertical and a horizontal row or pull, focus on driving that elbow back and really engaging the lats and get strong as heck on them. All right. Elias says, is it based on Australian mud cake? No, I think it's based on, I think we called it Aussie Triple Biscuit. It was based on like a Tim Tam flavor, I believe. All right, Fabi says, what do you think about the Texas method? How can I transform it into a power building program? The Texas method is a good approach, but here's what I found with programs like that. When I don't do, my philosophy is different. So I'm going to tell you my philosophy and I'm going to tell you their philosophy, and you can take with it what you want. I'm not saying mine's better. Both will get you strong. But I have found my philosophy is you want to get every muscle group as strong as humanly possible from head to toe. So I like to have an appropriate amount of volume for triceps, for biceps, for shoulders, all that kind of good stuff. So as long as you have that in place with the Texas method, then you're good. If you want a bare bones program that's like starting strength or whatever, that's not too far off from that, or the Bill Starr programs, they work for strength, but they're not power building. They're not going to give you, they're not focused on building strength from head to toe, like building super strong traps and building super strong triceps. And that's what excites me. And that's the core of a power building program. I want to get everything big and strong. So I got tons of power building programs at Tiger Fitness to give you ideas. Let's see. Inverted rows, that's a great tip. If you want to get stronger at pull-ups, inverted rows are a good body weight assistance exercise as well. They're also a good lat exercise. Don't just Google inverted row. Yeah, Google inverted row Steve Shaw, because I show you how to do them on this channel. See, Andre says, on the heavy bench, should you do pause reps or touching and go? Pause reps are fine. touch and go is fine. The main thing, no matter what you do, is you want to remain tight. Like a lot of guys, when they do bench, they just kind of drop it. They drop it. You have to remain tight during that eccentric, okay? Because tightness will help to prevent extra strains and pains on the shoulders, the brachialis, all that kind of good stuff. So either way is fine. Play around with both, see what you like, but just make sure you focus on tightness. Andre says, why aren't you posting these live videos? All the live videos I do are posted, so I'm not sure what you mean. All my live videos are posted on this channel. They go directly to uploads. I only do about once a week. What is the solution for rounded upper back during deadlift? There's no problem with having a rounded upper back during deadlift. No problem at all. You don't need a solution. You don't want a retracted. You don't want your shoulders retracted. You don't want your lats pinned, because that's a good way to tear the muscles up in your lats, your rhomboids. You don't want that. Having a rounded upper back is not an issue during deadlifts. Having a rounded lower back is an issue with deadlifts. So no issue there. Let's see. We're scrolling through the questions. What would you recommend for spinal decompression after rack pulling? I like to get straps and just hang in between sets, or just stretch in between sets on the top of the rack. I just do those myself in between sets, so I'm not sure. I don't really do much more than that, so I hope that helps. Favorite exercise to help prevent shoulders from rounding forward? I don't know about preventing shoulders from rounding forward, because I'm assuming they're already rounded forward, but when you have a shoulder or posture or whatever issue, you have to understand you have three aspects. You have the chest, you have the back, so those are like the two pieces of bread, and you have the meat on top, which are the shoulders. So you got three aspects of the upper body. You need to train them equally. You need to get them all as strong as possible. And during that time, when you're getting big and beefy and getting them all as strong as humanly possible, you're going to be less likely to walk around like that. I've never seen a big, beefy guy walk around with rounded shoulders. It usually is self-correcting when you get as strong as a beast. We're rolling, but I'm going to keep this Q&A rolling because I got all kinds of caffeine. All kinds of caffeine. I got my Keurig over there, so we're ready to go if you guys keep rolling. I'm going on 6. Robert says, going on a month now. Full body, 6 movement, rest pause, block training, compound movement. Only 3 to 4 minute blocks, doesn't matter. Does the block time matter? No. You have to evolve your block time and rest pause training based on what feels good for you. So it doesn't really matter as long as your weekly volume's in place. Wow, we got questions rolling. Andre says, what do you think about pause rep work? Should be used as a sit? Now, pause reps they're not that much weaker than regular reps. For bench press, pause are good as long as you're remaining tight. If you're not remaining tight, you're going to be sloppy in the hole. A lot of guys will lower it and then they'll get loose. If you're getting loose, do you see that? That was my little dance move. If you're getting loose in the hole, then they're not a good idea. You have to remain tight. Same thing with pause squats. Paused squats will make you sore AF, you know what I'm saying? But you gotta make sure that you stay tight. So I like doing them both, but you have to make sure you can maintain tightness during a paused rep. Let's see. Oh, Andre says, what's the best joke you know? Jason Blaha, fake mercenary. That's the best joke I know. Any cable work one should do besides face pulls? That's a very good question. Now, cables get a bad rap, but there are some cable exercises I do. Let me get some caffeine here. Like, I like doing on the seated cable row machine. I like getting the easy bar attachment and doing curls like this. Now, I'm gonna have a little bit of elbow rotation because I don't just do this. I do this and then rotate because I can feel a really good contraction. I use those. I like to do single arm cable curls. Let me see if I can show you guys here where I'll have the cable set up and I'll just curl it like this. I like doing that for biceps because I can feel a really good contraction. I like cable extensions. I like seated cable rows. Shoot, I do quite a few cable exercises, so I believe they have value. Occasionally, I do even do cable crossovers at the end of my chesticle workout. Let's see. Thanks, Joel. Appreciate the kind words. Mohammed says, should I touch my pecs in the bench press? Usually you want the bar down around here. You don't want your elbow flared like this, because if you notice when you raise your elbow, you can feel more strain on the shoulder. So you want it kind of here, and when the bar's kind of there, it's going to be around the nipple area. So that's a good place to start. Video your form, watch where that bar path lands, and make sure it's not landing too high up. You don't need to have the bar on the middle of your chest to experience chest gains. That's like saying when you're doing curls, you need to have the bar touch your biceps. That don't make any difference, so I hope that helps. Let's see. Andre says, is it okay to flare the elbows after you lift the weight off your chest, even if you lowered it with the elbows tucked? That's a very good question. So here's the thing. Bar path. Like he's saying, when you bench and your elbows aren't flared, is it okay for them to flare up? Yeah, here's the thing. When you bench, see if I can do this. I stand up. One thing you guys got to understand in the bench press, okay, if you want to maximize your bench press strength, when you're pressing, think about rotation. Think about rotating those elbows like this as you're locking out. That will help you engage the triceps. That will help you with your lockout. And that might cause, that's where you're going to end up, you see? This position, your elbow is almost equal with your shoulder. So you're coming down, boom, rotating. So yeah, don't worry about all that stuff. So it's all good, yeah. Walter says, my son is 13. Should he start hitting the iron? I started training my daughter at 13. And yes, he can do body weight stuff. I started my daughter at 13 with very, very light dumbbells. We would just play. It was just like, don't force heavy weight. Give them 6 months just to do body weight stuff, to do light dumbbell stuff. Let there be some neuromuscular adaptation, because if not, they're going to be really, really shaky, and that is not a good thing. Give them 6 months. Don't make them do big lifts. I taught my daughter goblet squats. Then I moved on to stiff leg deadlifts, dumbbell rows, dumbbell bench press. And only after 6 months did we start to attack barbell stuff. But you'll know when they're steady enough to attack a barbell. And there's no issues, stunning growth or anything like that when it comes to barbells. So don't worry about that. It's more about safety. Let's see, Alcoholic Monkey wants to know, can you explain the Bulgarian split training method? No, I have no idea what it is. I'm sorry, man. I have analyzed so many workout systems over the years. I know a lot about frequency training, but I don't know about the Bulgarian split training method, so I'm very sorry. Fabi says, do I need isolation movements for hypertrophy? Here's the thing. You need a certain amount of weekly volume to stimulate all the muscle groups, whether you're using a split, whether you're using a full body, whether you're using an upper lower. Let's say it's 10 to 15 sets or whatever, 9 to 15 sets. It don't matter. We're just generalizing. You can do all compound movements, but you're probably going to beat the living snot out of your joints as you get stronger. So I recommend more of a heavy, light, moderate approach. You do a heavy exercise like a compound. For chest, that would be bench. A more moderate, which could be a machine press or higher rep dumbbell bench press. And then you do a light like push-ups or cable crossovers. So do you need isolation exercise? I think a better question is, how can we train in the long term, get strong, and not beat the heck out of our joints? You can do all compound movements, but as you get strong, you probably notice that you're going to pick up a lot of strains and pains. So I hope that helps. All right, I'm going to do a couple more questions, then I am going to hop off and get ready for a hike. Philip says, I have joint pain when I do bench press. How can I fix that? Where is the joint pain at, Philip? That would help. Karen says, I stopped working out for 2 months for being lazy. What should I do to get back? When you get back after training, the biggest mistake guys make is they'll go into the gym and they'll just go balls out 5 days a week, hour and a half. Take 2 weeks to ease back into it. Okay, take 2 weeks. Get that neuromuscular connection with the form. Don't go super heavy. Just develop the routine of getting back in the gym. Understand that you have been out of the gym. There's a reason you've been out of the gym. You lost that routine. Take a couple weeks, get the feel for form. Don't do a lot of volume. Don't do a lot of heavy weight. And once you're actually back at the gym again, you got that habit again, then you can start getting into full speed. All right, one more question, then I'm going to go. Okay, Philip says, I'm going to answer the question about bicep training for powerlifting, and I'm going to answer Philip's question as well. Philip says his wrists hurt while he's benching. Okay, first thing you need to think when you video yourself and see if your wrists are over your elbows. Okay, when you are overhead pressing, when you are bench pressing, your wrists should be about over your elbows. So that's what you want. If not, if your wrists aren't over your elbows, there's going to be some pressure. There's going to be some pressure outward, or if it's too close, there could be pressure inward. Like the guys that do close grip bench presses, you get this inward pressure. So that's the first thing you want to look at. Sometimes as we get stronger, and one muscle group is stronger than another, we may just need wrist wraps, some kind of support. Sometimes we just might need to deload the heavy weight and do more volume to get rid of those strains. But if you're picking up consistent strains, you probably need to consider wrist wraps for support. And I know there's guys out there be like, this weekend's this weekend's that. You know what? If you walk around with strains and pains all the time, it's not fun. So you probably need to take corrective action. Last question here. Last question is from Bob Joe. Is bicep training important for a powerlifter? Here's what I found out. When I was doing frequency training, I did not do biceps at all for like 3 or 4 years. My arm size shrunk. Okay? During this time, you're welcome, Philip. I hope that helps. During this time, I noticed that I would experience some eccentric fatigue on my bench, like where I just felt weak lowering the weight to my chest. So I have found with bicep work that it particularly impacts the bench press. If I do too much bicep work, I'll feel weak on the eccentric. If I don't do any bicep work, I tend to feel weak on the eccentric. So I believe a mild to moderate amount of bicep work is good. Plus, when a muscle is smaller, and I lost 1 inch on my arms when I wasn't doing direct arm work, it doesn't have the same strength capacity. It doesn't have the same strength capacity. Size and strength size is beneficial for strength. So I would do a little bit of arm training. Absolutely. So, all right, guys, that's it. That is it. I got 47 minutes in the Q&A today. I appreciate all you guys' support. After this Q&A, I'm going to link my book below, Massive Iron. If you guys need more information on my training approach, please check out my book, Massive Iron. So, guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, you can check out the link below. You can post your questions there. I answer every single question. The best question I turn into videos just like this. All right, guys. Appreciate your support. Have a great day.